There is something happening inside you right now that has never once asked for your permission. It began before your first memory, before your first word, before you knew your own name. It is happening as you read these words, as your eyes move across the screen, as your thoughts drift and settle. It is your breath, and in all likelihood, you have never truly met it, not in the way you meet a friend, with full attention and open curiosity. You have lived with it every single day of your life, and yet it remains, for most of us, a stranger. The ancient teachers of the East observed something that took the West centuries to begin confirming. The breath is not merely a biological event. It is a conversation, a quiet, continuous dialogue between the body and the mind, between what is happening inside us and what is happening around us. When a child is frightened, watch how the breath contracts and rises into the chest, shallow and rapid, as though the lungs themselves are trying to hide. When an elder sits peacefully on a porch at dusk, watch how the breath descends, long and low and unhurried, as though it has nowhere to go and nothing to prove. We do not decide these changes, they happen to us. But what the ancient teachers discovered, and what this practice will show you, is that the reverse is equally true. You can consciously change your breath, and your breath will change your world. Most people, when they first hear about mindful breathing, imagine it is a technique for stress relief, a kind of emergency tool to reach for when things get difficult. And while it is certainly that, it is also something far more ordinary and far more profound. It is the practice of finally arriving in your own life, of pulling your attention back from the distant countries of yesterday and tomorrow, and planting it, gently but firmly, right here in the soft territory of this breath, this moment, this quiet pulse of being alive. There is a story told among Zen teachers about a student who came to his master in a state of great agitation. His mind, he said, was like a river in a storm, turbulent, dark, full of debris. He could not concentrate. He could not sleep. He could not find a single moment of stillness. The master listened, nodded slowly, and then asked one quiet question. "Tell me," he said, "has the river ever stopped flowing?" The student was confused. "Of course not," he replied. "Then," said the master, "you have not lost your stillness. You have only forgotten where to find it. The breath is that river. It never stops. Even in your most anxious moments, even in grief, even in rage, even in the blank hollow of exhaustion, the breath is there, flowing steadily beneath everything." The practice of mindful breathing is not the act of creating stillness. It is the act of remembering that stillness was never absent. It is learning to return, again and again, to something that has been faithfully waiting for you your entire life. What makes this practice remarkable is its utter simplicity. Unlike so many pursuits we take up in the hope of feeling better, mindful breathing requires no equipment, no membership, no ideal conditions, and no previous experience. It requires only the one thing most of us find most difficult to give: our attention. Full, unhurried, non-judgmental attention, not the scattered, half-present attention we give to most things in our modern lives, but the soft, steady attention of someone who has genuinely decided to be here, right here, with this inhale, with this exhale, with nothing added and nothing taken away. This is the paradox at the center of the practice. The breath is so ordinary, so automatic, so utterly unglamorous, that the mind naturally resists it. Why pay attention to breathing? The mind asks. Surely there are more important things to think about, and in that very resistance, in that gentle, persistent reluctance to be present, lies the entire teaching. Because the mind that finds the breath boring is the same mind that is always looking for the next thing, always a half step ahead of the present moment, always quietly convinced that real life is just about to begin. Mindful breathing is the practice of interrupting that story and discovering, with some surprise, that real life was here all along. There are many ways to practice mindful breathing, and different doors will suit different people at different moments. The teachers who have passed this wisdom down across generations were not rigid. They understood that the human mind is varied, that some people need an anchor, others need spaciousness, and others need a gentle rhythm. What follows are not steps on a ladder. They are 3 doorways into the same room, and you are free to enter through whichever one feels most natural. The first doorway is the doorway of sensation. Find a comfortable position, seated on a chair, on the floor, or lying down, if that serves you better. Allow your back to be tall without being rigid, like a tree that is rooted but not stiff. Gently close your eyes, or let your gaze rest softly on a point a few feet ahead of you. And then, without trying to change anything, simply feel the breath as it is. Feel the coolness of the air as it enters through your nostrils. Feel the subtle expansion in your chest or belly as the lungs receive the air. Feel the slow release as the exhale moves out, a little warmer than it arrived. There is nothing to fix here, nothing to improve. The only instruction is to feel, to let the breath be your entire world for these few minutes, and to notice, with genuine curiosity, what it is doing. The second doorway is the doorway of counting. This method is especially helpful for those whose minds move quickly, those who find that pure sensation is not enough of an anchor to hold the attention. After settling into your position and bringing your awareness to the breath, begin to count each exhale silently. 1 breath out, 1, the next breath out, 2. Continue until you reach 10, and then return to 1. If at any point your mind wanders and you lose count, and it will, and that is completely natural, simply begin again from 1 without judgment, without frustration, without treating it as a failure. The return itself is the practice. Each time you notice you have drifted and choose to come back, you are strengthening something quiet and powerful inside you. The third doorway is the doorway of the extended exhale. This is one of the most gentle and immediate ways to shift the nervous system toward calm. After breathing in naturally, allow the exhale to last just a little longer than the inhale, not forced, not dramatic, simply lengthened with the same care you might use to slowly lower a fragile object onto a table. If the inhale takes 4 counts, let the exhale take 6 or 7. Repeat this several times, and notice what happens in the body. The shoulders may soften, the jaw may unclench, the space behind the eyes may feel slightly wider. This is not imagination. This is the body's own intelligence, responding to a signal it recognizes, the signal that says, you are safe, you can let go, all is well in this moment. You do not need to choose one doorway and commit to it forever. Some mornings you may need counting, some evenings pure sensation is enough. In a difficult moment during the day, before a hard conversation, after receiving unexpected news, in the middle of a crowded and noisy place, the extended exhale may be exactly what is needed. The practice is alive. Let it meet you where you are. People sometimes come to mindful breathing expecting a dramatic transformation. They expect that after a week of practice, the noise in their minds will quiet permanently. That stress will dissolve like mist in strong sunlight, that life will begin to feel smoother and more manageable. And while the practice does bring genuine, lasting change, it does not arrive in the way most people expect. It arrives quietly, almost invisibly. The way a tree grows, not in a single dramatic moment, but in the patient accumulation of countless, small, unremarkable days. The first thing that tends to change is the relationship between thought and reaction. Before mindful breathing becomes a habit, thoughts and reactions are nearly identical. A thought arises, and the body responds immediately, without pause, without choice. Someone says something that irritates you, and before you have even decided how you feel, you are already responding from irritation. Mindful breathing creates a space in that gap. A single conscious breath, drawn slowly and with awareness, can be enough to introduce a pause, a half-second of freedom between stimulus and response that, over time, becomes a full second, then 3, then enough time to choose. In Buddhist teaching, this pause is considered one of the most significant developments a person can cultivate. It is the beginning of genuine self-understanding. The mind also begins to develop what the teachers call witness awareness, a quiet capacity to observe thoughts and feelings without being consumed by them. Before this capacity develops, we tend to believe that we are our thoughts. When sadness arises, we become sad. When anxiety appears, we are anxious. But through the regular practice of returning attention to the breath, we gradually discover something remarkable. There is a part of us that watches the sadness without being the sadness. There is a stillness beneath the turbulence, the way the sky exists silently behind every cloud. This does not make you cold or detached. It makes you steady. It gives you a place to stand, even when everything is moving. The body, too, begins to carry less unnecessary weight. Many of us hold tension in the body as a default setting, tightness in the throat, a low-grade clench in the jaw, a perpetual shallowness in the chest that we have mistaken for simply how breathing feels. With practice, we begin to notice these patterns, and in noticing them, we find they soften on their own. We breathe, and the body remembers that it is allowed to release. This is not healing in the clinical sense. It is something older and quieter. It is the body remembering its own nature. None of this requires perfection. It does not require a silent room, or a special cushion, or 30 minutes every morning without interruption. It requires only willingness, the small, humble, repeatable willingness to bring your attention back to the breath. One more time, in whatever circumstances life has placed you in, that willingness, practiced steadily over weeks and months, becomes something that cannot easily be taken from you. It becomes a quality of your presence, a quiet steadiness that people around you may notice before you notice it yourself. In the end, the practice of mindful breathing is not about breathing at all. It is about what breathing makes possible. When you follow the breath with your full attention, you are not simply monitoring a biological function. You are practicing presence. You are practicing the art of being here, in this body, in this moment, in this one unrepeatable instant of your life. And that practice, carried out with patience and gentleness and a certain lightness of spirit, changes the texture of how you inhabit your own existence. There will be days when the practice feels easy and natural, when the breath comes slow and smooth, and the mind settles quickly into quiet. There will also be days when it feels impossible, when the mind refuses to settle, when every breath seems like a struggle, when you sit down to practice and immediately feel more restless than before. Both of these days are the practice. The ease and the difficulty are equally the practice. What matters is not the quality of any single session, but the simple fact of returning to the breath, to this moment, to yourself. You already carry everything you need. You have carried it since the moment you were born. It rises and falls in your chest right now, faithful and unhurried, asking nothing from you except your attention. Somewhere beneath the noise of your thoughts, beneath the weight of your worries, beneath everything that has made today feel complicated or heavy or uncertain, the breath is there, quiet, patient, alive, always waiting for you to come home. May your breath be your teacher, your stillness your home, and each exhale a gentle returning to what was never lost.